Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
It's now 10 minutes before the top of the hour and time now for your tropical update. And we start things off by looking at the names for the 1997 season, for the Atlantic season at least. And we start off with Ana, then Bill, Claudette, Danny, Erica, and the list continues. If we get to that point, there'll be Sam, Teresa, Victor, and Wanda. Now, as we move from June to July, the area that's most favored for tropical development really starts to expand. As opposed to just being across the Gulf of Mexico or the Western Caribbean, we start to look at more and more areas for the possibility of tropical development. The areas north of Cuba, also a favored area for tropical development, and also farther out here across the Atlantic basin, we start to see water temperatures warming up steadily throughout this zone. So this is also an area very favored for tropical development. Now, at least for the early part of July, things are usually still kind of quiet. In the last 110 years or so, there's only been some 19 named storms, and then again, they've been scattered about from the Gulf of Mexico and out across the Atlantic basin. Well, right now, though, we do have a tropical storm, the very first one of the season, Tropical Storm Ana. Here's the latest particulars regarding Ana. Right now, it's packing winds of 45 miles per hour, and it continues to lift off towards the east. Central pressure estimated at 1,001 millibar. Now, the good news with Ana is that right now it's quite a ways away from any land areas, and it continues to work its way off towards the east, eventually curving more towards the east-northeast as it starts to work in response to a trough of low pressure that's coming off the eastern seaboard. At any rate, again, the only concern regarding Ana is that it could be affecting some shipping interests out here across the Atlantic. But right now, it's not affecting any land areas, and it continues to move away from the United States. So that's definitely great news. As far as the convection is concerned, it's still fairly compact. Most of the convection, though, continues to be on the east side of the center of circulation, as Ana has been undergoing a little bit of wind shear. And overall, we don't really anticipate any major changes in strength or intensity regarding Ana, pretty much staying about the same strength, we think, for the next 24 hours. But again, the good news, it continues to pull away from the lower 48. How about the rest of the tropics? Well, back into the Gulf of Mexico, very quiet right now. High pressure camped over this region, and lots of fair skies building across the central Gulf of Mexico. There have been a few showers and thunder showers, though, flaring up across Central America. But even if these thunderstorms were to persist and develop into something, chances are they would eventually head over towards some land areas and then eventually start to dissipate. So we're not too terribly concerned about these little clusters of showers and storms. Kind of quiet overall for most of Cuba. Kind of quiet too as we head over towards Jamaica. A little bit farther towards the east, there have been some passing showers, though, across the Puerto Rico area, but still very quiet, though, across the Lesser Antilles, and that does include the Virgin Islands. Pretty quiet.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
And now let's check on your tropical update. Ana, our first named storm in the Atlantic this year. And next up on the list is Bill. And as we take a look at the month of July, climatology says keep an eye open in these red shaded areas. That's where we tend to see the storms develop during the entire month of July. And the blue arrows indicative of the movement of the storms that have developed in the areas. First 10 days of July. Well, from 1886 to 1996, we've seen 19 storms, about one every 5 years. Something does develop, and we have seen something develop off the east coast. It's Tropical Storm Ana. 11 a.m. advisory from the Hurricane Center. Had the center of circulation 32.2 north, 71.1 west, 330 miles southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Winds of only 40 miles an hour near the center of circulation. Tropical storm winds, though, do extend out about 115 miles east of the center of circulation there. And the movement east-northeasterly at 8, pressure 1,002 millibars. Looking at our infrared satellite picture, do see once again there is a westerly flow on top of the storm. That's been an inhibiting factor in its development. And with the westerly flow, center of circulation in through here, heavier showers and storms off to the east. Way off to the east right there, that is Bermuda. Southeasterly winds right now at about 15 knots. Here you see the east coast of the U.S. Trough has moved in, and that is turning Ana to the east-northeast now. Let's go to our visible satellite picture, and here you can see our swirl associated with Ana. And just checking with our hurricane expert, John Hope, he says, hey, it's more than just a low-level swirl. There's some mid-level clouds in through there, and there you see the higher clouds with the thunderstorms being blown off towards the east. So there it is, an impressive little swirl there. That's now moving off to the east-northeast. Here is Bermuda, and the tropical storm force winds out about 115 miles east of the center into here. So that should pass just off to the northwest of Bermuda. So there may be some enhanced showers next 24 hours or so. Okay, let's go to the Caribbean, upper low.
Possible tornadoes. Doppler radar has indicated that in near Oscoda County in Michigan. Please seek shelter immediately there. Possible tornado for you. And we've been following the action here just outside of Fort Wayne, Indiana, around Huntington. Possible tornado there reported by spotters. So this is a volatile situation. We have our area of low pressure. We have cooler, drier air behind the front, warm, moist air heading in out of the Gulf of Mexico. And all the upper level. It's a dangerous situation for you if you're working outside, if you have to do some yard work, if the kids are just outside playing. Remember, it can also have an effect on very small children. So bring them in, let them take frequent breaks, and drink plenty of fluids too. Southwest could see some difficulty as well. Now, a lot of folks suffer from the tree pollen, and in the mid-Atlantic states and the northern New England, it's still fairly high. Same story for you there in Colorado and the northern plains. Mold spores are also actually fairly high.
Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Well, Tropical Storm Ana is maintaining itself as a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm. If you look at this chart here, you might think that looks pretty close to the United States. Well, actually, it's not all that close. It's now 350 miles. The center is to the east-southeast of Cape Hatteras, and it's moving away, and it's moving away at a faster rate than it was before. On the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center, the forward speed has been increased to 13 miles per hour, centered at 33.1 north, 70.2 west, and that, as we said, is 350 miles east-southeast of Cape Hatteras. Now, we expect it to continue to move toward the northeast, increase its forward speed somewhat, move away from the United States, move to the west of Bermuda, although Bermuda is going to be close enough now to get some rain showers, perhaps. They've had a rain shower or two around there already. And when we look at the satellite picture, you can see that the cloud shield is actually over Bermuda. Bermuda is on the very edge of the picture here, and there is the center of the tropical storm right there. And again, we don't have very many deep white clouds around the center, although we are getting a few now. So what we think is going to happen here in the next 24 hours is, as this does begin to accelerate a little bit faster toward the northeast, we think that it will just about maintain itself and not begin to weaken until after 48 hours. Now, this is an infrared picture, and right there is about where the center of circulation is, and the black dot you see there is Bermuda. And some of those high clouds have been moving in there all day, and they have reported a shower or two, but the wind isn't very strong there at all. They're picking up a southeast wind, 10, 15 miles an hour. That's about all it is. So here again are the names for the season. We've already used Ana, Bill, Claudette, Danny. Well, we don't see any of those folks on the horizon at all. As we look out over the Atlantic, we're not seeing anything out there right now that we think is likely to develop. So it looks as if we could go into this holiday weekend without having to worry about any new tropical storms or hurricanes developing. In July, we begin to search a little bit farther east than we did in June, and some east of Florida, not quite so concentrated in the Gulf of Mexico. In fact, here are the origins. There are 4 or 5 have developed out east of the islands. A number out here east of the southeast United States, 4 or 5 in the Gulf of Mexico, but only a couple in the Caribbean, in contrast to June where we had quite a few. Well, speaking of the Caribbean Sea today, it couldn't be much nicer than we see out there. It's just beautiful weather in the Caribbean, so anybody that chose this holiday week in to go down there.
In summer, 90 in Atlanta, 96 in Dallas, but look at the cool air in the upper Midwest. That front has really brought about at 11 o'clock Eastern time.
Valleys. Cold front heads east by tomorrow morning.
The Weather Channel. No place on Earth has better weather.
Good to see you, my friend. Time for our tropical update on TS Ana. TS, of course, for tropical storm. Ana, actually, it's the Spanish spelling and pronunciation. These are the 11 o'clock data on Ana, 34.1 north. That's 34.1 degrees north of the equator. That's what we're talking about. This is an actual fix, estimated fix on the center of the circulation of this thing, and 69.5 degrees west. So we take it 69, notice these numbers down here, 40 west, 50 west, 60 west, 70 west, and we come up 34 degrees. That's where it is. Tropical storm Ana, with maximum sustained winds of 40 miles an hour. That is barely classifiable as a tropical storm, so we're not talking about anything major here. And fortunately, it is far away from the United States, far enough away, and also far away from Bermuda. That sits out of here in harm's way quite often, but fortunately it was heading toward Bermuda. It has now taken that turn, and it is now moving toward the northeast, actually a little more north than northeast, at 10 knots or 12 miles per hour approximately. And the pressure is 1,000 millibars as determined by a Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance plane earlier today. This tropical storm is in the process of becoming extratropical. What do I mean by that? Well, this actually was an extratropical low. It formed along an old cold front. Then it took on tropical characteristics. The National Hurricane Center said, we got to watch this. Looks like it's some circulation, it's over warm water. There's still some thunder and lightning with it. It's a little cool in there, but it's tropical enough. We're going to call it a tropical depression. And then they found tropical storm force winds up at flight level, actually above 50 miles an hour. And they said, okay, tropical storm Ana. Now an upper level trough is moving offshore. It's gobbling this thing up slowly. And this will return to extratropical status over the next 2 to 3 days. But either way, it is leaving. It is moving toward the northeast at 10 knots. Goodbye. Out here over land, we've got some severe thunderstorms out in Wyoming County, West Virginia. We'll have the latest on that. Just wanted to mention it because they are cruising toward the southeast. Some high clouds now over Banner Elk, North Carolina. But as you can see, it is absolutely clear from Virginia Beach to Myrtle Beach to Tybee Island to Jacksonville Beach in Florida's first coast, and all the way down to Palm Beach. So if you have plans to the southeast coast this weekend for July 4th, perfect. It's going to be sunny and hot. And this thing is going to be long gone. Tropical storm Ana, our first organized tropical system in the Atlantic Basin, which includes the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf of Mexico, and the Caribbean. And during the month of July, tropical storms, some of which have become hurricanes, have been known to develop in these areas. Each one of these dots indicates where during this time period, 111-year time period, tropical storms have formed. So we do have one. Are there any other possibilities? Well, no, there are none. Here in the Gulf of Mexico, it's about as clear as you could want. So from Naples and Sanibel Island up to Panama City Beach,